What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Not Safe for Work podcast. We have the full complement right now, and Sean, glad to have you back, man.
Thank you,
It
boys.
was actually worked out last week that we had Drew instead of you. But it's funny because Drew was like, "I'm gonna shave the mustache for next week," but it looks like he grew more facial hair, kind of like me. You got to represent the fuzz a little bit. But welcome back to the podcast, guys. We're all having some lunch over here. There's some we wanted to talk. I think we wanted to kick it off with just some funny stuff, just talking about the whole Johnny Depp fiasco. But it seems like the stock market has been taking a little bit of a tumble. Sean's probably going to chime in since he's the resident stock guy. No, I'm kidding, but yeah, man, I think we're seeing some major moves here. So, Sean, what do you think, man? What's going on with this stuff?
Yeah, so this is another. This is concerning because it's another leg down in general across the market. But the bigger concern is the fact that we are being affected in huge ways by every conceivable piece of news that comes out, whether it's significant or not. And we can cover this in a second, but there's some breaking news about Elon that just came out that's super concerning, both from the standpoint of Twitter and Tesla, and frankly everything else for that matter. So yeah, I think the big issue right now is there's absolutely nothing wrong with taking losses and selling and having that to write off the end of the year, regardless of where you are and how you can do it. But I know Drew will probably be back in a minute. But the big concern I'm having right now is we have seen a sustained downward spiral here that is frankly seeming to not be able to catch an endpoint, and we're watching it happen across all markets. And the one thing we haven't seen yet, at least not significantly, is we have not seen the real estate market get smashed yet. So I've got some friends who are realtors or whatever, and I know a lot of people who are looking right now. So not only are home prices way high, which anyone who sees this can probably appreciate that if you're looking for a home. So not only are home prices really high, but the fuel to those high prices was low interest rates. I can afford a higher price home because I'm going to pay a little bit less on the mortgage payment because of a low interest rate. Now we've got interest rates that have jumped up significantly, up and over the fives for 30-year fixed. So now,
really? Fives?
I've been seeing fives, yeah. But
Holy
here's
shit.
what's interesting, though. I was talking to a buddy of mine who just closed recently, and he was saying that the bank actually offered him a 10-year interest-only ARM, and the rate was really good. And I was like, oh, my God, that's exactly what kicked off everything 14 years ago. It started with interest-only to ARMs, low rates, and then before you know it, you now are buying at the absolute peak with no equity write down on that monthly payment, and just going to get hammered on that. So what's happening is now we're getting to that point where it's like, how do I keep affording something that's unaffordable? Oh, easy. Let me get an ARM with no equity payment whatsoever.
Right.
And
Man, what a shit show.
That to me is been doing this for a long time. That for me is the flashing red light, something is really wrong here.
But do you think maybe, Sean? Do you think, for example, when the what is it called, the global financial GFC, right? When the GFC happened, wasn't it during wasn't it a thing that was going on for a while, and then some other thing basically tipped it over, or was it? Because right now I feel like this is coming at the worst possible time, right? It's almost like trying to quell it a little bit in a way. So I feel like maybe the timing is better this time. I don't know, but I feel like the timing is better now versus before, where before the GFC, it was like an ongoing thing for a while.
Well, so it's funny. I did an interview this morning, and this actually came up. So we were talking about the fact that it wasn't as obvious to people who don't understand the markets to those who do. Behind the scenes during the whole crisis was the fact that the major gigantic insurance companies like AIG, etc., they were getting privately wiped out because they held all the mortgage collateralized debt. That I don't know that a lot of people realize that hasn't changed. All these mortgages are still being sold in the secondary markets. They're still being tranched, and they're still being put into confusing metrics. They've just changed the names. So it's the same product with a new name to make everyone think oh, it's gone, it's not a big deal anymore. So for what it's worth, I think that real estate is always going to be a lagging indicator, but we're still seeing very little on the market, and very little interest rates that haven't quite caught up publicly yet. So I'm seeing higher rates on 30s, and I'm also seeing a lot more ARMs coming back to play. Those two things combined for complex resales of those mortgage products, which means not everyone may be doing the right things when they're buying them, and they can be sitting behind a major company, they can be sitting in the assets of a big insurer, just like we saw before. So all things to really all things that I would consider as being abnormal risks in a market that is trending down. The final thought, and then I'll stop talking about it. You're buying a house that's probably maybe a little on the edge of being expensive, so you're using an interest-only loan to get it. You don't know when those rates are going to change, and we know they're going up. And your portfolio just got completely wiped out. That means your 401k might be lower. It means your kid's 529 might be lower. It means your holdings might be lower. So depending on your time frame when you need that money, maybe it's no big deal. But for a lot of people, that's when panic sets in, and they move to cash, and they get out of positions now. Now, as a perfect example, there was a time to exit when things are going down, or there was a time to hedge there, right?
Right.
Now it's like, now we're really getting low on pricing, and this is what worries me is now we're going to reignite selling so we can go out and do and take care of these other things. And then the other thing I've been seeing across the wire is companies are broadly announcing two things. Either A, they're going to freeze hiring, or B, they're going to start looking closer at numbers, et cetera. So I think there's some considerations there as well on, are we going to look at some pressure from the jobs perspective?
I don't know, man. You're right. I think you literally just laid it all out there, right? So just to touch on one point there, I'm one of those people, like I did go a little bit more into cash. I had a massive tax bill, which kind of sucked. I feel like if there was a year to skip paying taxes, this might have been the one because the market's going down like crazy. But I gotta not go to jail, man. You know, it is what it is. But so I've been going heavy into cash just because, like, I don't know, it's like a lot of the folks I speak to, you know, in the community and not in the community, people are always like, oh, I think we've hit bottom. It's pretty low already, whatever the case is. And really, I don't know. It doesn't feel that way. Like whenever I go to the store, and I have kids, right? So for me, you do too. Like I think we all have kids and stuff, or we're all dads in some way. But like what I'm saying is, like, we have this experience where we're actively shopping for other people, and for me, it's always been about inflation and about, like, you know, the overvaluation, overpricedness, or whatever you want to call it for the stock market. So you're right. Like you touched on that directly on the head. And it's funny because I got a comment today from someone in the Netherlands. They were saying like the job market is hot there, actually, right? And the thing is, in my last video, that's what I was talking about. I was saying, like, guys, buckle down, because, like, you know, I think you know where I work, but like I work for one of the major brokerages in the US, right? And these guys, man, they're cutting budgets left, right, and center. Like they're starting to shore up and, you know, bat, you know, bat. What do they call it? What's the figure of speech? Like board up everything, just prepare for the storm, right? That's what they're doing right now. And from the town halls that I've been part of, they're expecting something, or at least the people that are saying it are expecting it to be worse than what COVID was in the dip that went down. Now, who knows if that's even true? Who knows, right? But the idea is that if the corporate side of it is doing this, how long is it going to take for them to go to the recruiters? Because it's almost like it's not real time, never, right? It's never real time. So when these guys are like, okay, so we're gonna remove the budget over here, the recruiter that's working to hire somebody, they don't hear about this stuff till a month later. So for them, like I've had, when COVID dipped, I actually had it, like supposedly I had a job lined up already, but it fell through because they rescinded the offer. So it's like, you know, people have to be aware of this. Sorry, Drew. People have to be aware of the situation. But you're right. It's like all these indicators are coming up. But the problem, Sean, I think, again, you touched on this like perfectly, is all of these they're sort of trailing in a way where it doesn't happen immediately, right? Like, like for example, the job situation really is starting now, I think, at least in terms of, like, you know, when this stuff is going to come out. But the market stuff, some of the indicators, that the real estate ones, you were talking about this for months now, right? This isn't something that just came up. It's just that some of it is starting to come up now.
Yeah, well, I think, and I don't want to get too deep into the financial news here, but like, I think the biggest issue is no one. I'm going to reset something I said earlier today on another call. No one wants to use a financial advisor; they want to do it themselves. But they also don't want to put in 20 years of research to know how markets work the right way. So you either need to do all of the research to know what's happening and why it's happening, or you need to go and get some help and pay a very small amount to get that help. So I understand why everyone wants to do it themselves, but then what happens is during downtimes, they don't understand why things are happening, why they couldn't have predicted it. I had shared a couple times now that I had married puts to a number of my positions, the most popular one, of course, being Palantir. And so, like, as this thing has gone down, I've made out like a bandit. I ended up buying long option calls at 750. So I'm still in the money on those already, right? So, like, there are a million strategies on how to profit and do well in these kinds of times. The issue, though, is it takes a long time to do the research and work. And to your point on the mortgage piece, what I was looking at and pulling data on was I was doing back testing on when Fed rates are rise, the impact on near-term borrowing for real estate, and then also real estate prices compressing post this piece. These are just some of the dominoes that are affected by it. And we also know for a fact that home builders are saying that land is expensive. It's getting harder to buy it. And we also know that we don't have enough inventory. So
Right.
there's this feeling of like, I better buy now because there's not enough out there. But actually the reality is saying like, well, wait a minute, you're going to be priced out in 6 months. So it just getting ahead of it on the data side of it is the most important thing you can do. And like, again, I don't suggest everyone should know how to do this, but I do suggest if you don't, you get some help to do it, right? I mean, that's kind of the core piece here.
Yeah, so you're suggesting to talk to someone who's a little bit more professional in this kind of space, especially times like this, right?
Well, like, what's funny, like finance YouTubers always get beat up for saying like, I'm not a financial advisor. And the reason why you say that is not because of liability. It's actually very good advice. The reason you want to talk to a financial advisor is they don't just look at you and say, okay, Shabari, looks like you've got Tesla. Okay, that's a good company. You're all set. They're looking at you and they're saying, Shabari, let me ask you a question. When would you like to retire? How much would you like to pay for your kids' college? Are you saving for a wedding? What do you plan to do when you retire? They're understanding the total 360 of who you are, what your life plans are, and reverse engineering a plan. I'm not suggesting everyone needs to do that. I think it's a good idea, but I'm not suggesting it. But what's happening is like the total flip side is happening. People are like YOLOing into single positions with everything they have because they're chasing a Lambo in their 20s. When the truth is, like, all the people I know that could go out and buy one certainly don't buy one, right? So,
God. So true, man. So goddamn true. It's funny. I started to realize that as I made more money, I was like, you know what? I'm at a position now. I'm not like super rich or anything, but compared to where I was before, I'm at a position now where I'm like, I can buy anything I've ever wanted, right? But I don't. It's honestly really, it's honestly really, really annoying. But it's one of those things that's like, just the fact that I have that option, it makes me feel better in a way, especially during times like this, right? So it's like,
when you don't have the capital, the things are very desirable. When you have the capital, the things become worthless because it's now not about image anymore. And I think that it takes some maturity to get there and also some life experience. So it's like, I wanted, when I was 18, 19 years old, I wanted a Range Rover and, and then now it's like, now I realize, number one, my head would touch the ceiling. And number two, like I could care less payments. I'd rather have the $800 going back to my portfolio. So
Range Rover was pretty nice though, can't lie.
No, it's true, but I'm a little bit too big for it. So it's like,
so what do you think in terms of predictions? I mean, we're not really trying to suggest or predict anything, but like, so what I'm thinking is like, I'll kick this one off. I was telling Drew last week, but I honestly think the pressure is not going to see. I have a reason for this, and I'll tell you, but I think we're going to last till at least end of July. I don't know about how the market's going to go down, but I think it's going to be this massive volatile state, definitely until the end of summer. But July is when we're going to get real indicators of how long it's going to last, in my opinion. And the reason for that is, I think, and let me know if I'm wrong here, but or if I'm off base. But the idea I'm talking about is summertime, right? Is usually when people want to go out a little bit more. I'm not saying that spending might be more. I don't know the numbers on that. What I'm saying is like your psychology. We're humans, right? We're largely based on weather patterns for the most part. And what I'm saying is they go out more, and now they're going to start to realize how expensive things really are. Yeah. And they've been expensive for a while. Right, but people complain about gas prices, and winter's work season, right? Everyone works hard. They come home, they watch TV, whatever. But now people want to go to the cottages. They want to drive more. They want to go do services. Once they start realizing that, that company is not there anymore, that doesn't exist anymore. Going to like Lucy's and buying fries or something used to cost like $6, and now it's like $9. Yeah. All of a sudden road trips become less expensive, and the Great American Highway starts slowing down a little bit.
This is an unbelievable transition to talking about how Walmart and Target just got absolutely freaking decimated. And I was reading a really good analysis that didn't make it onto the news, by the way, but it was a really deep analysis on it, on the fact that they didn't pass inflation onto their customers, which is why they appear to have done so bad. And it was a real big breakdown as far as the numbers. But that was the TLDR, is like, they basically like did not hurt their customers. They hurt themselves. Now, as an investor, I've held Walmart for a very long time, and I reinvested dividends. So like I'm going to be totally honest. I have no idea what I even own or how big or what. I don't even look at it, but I don't care. Like, this is a classic example of like, do you want your customers or do you want your customers' money? Because during inflation, those are two different things. When things are good, you get both. When things are bad, you get one or the other. And I'd rather maintain my customer base, keep them healthy and happy, and know that I was loyal to them because they've been loyal to me. And I love your point because when you think about vacation spots, there's a lot of places you don't get to except for once, maybe every year, every 2 years, every 3 years, whatever.
Right.
Like, I'm in New England, so for vacation, maybe we go down to the Cape as an example. All the local little restaurants that had the best food and the friendly cooks and the people you recognize for 20 years, they're gone. And it's like, oh man. And now that one place has a 2-hour wait, the food's 3 times more expensive, and they don't even want it. They're just trying to sustain their business. So it does create this spiral. I think also, not to talk about something crazy negative, but since his face is on the screen behind us, we're in a really weird time now where not only do we have wild, crazy inflation, we've got geopolitical situations now that are out of control. We've got this thing going on. Ukraine being still under constant bombardment by Russia has not ceased, contrary to what a lot of people thought. And now we've got North Korea openly just being like, we don't care what you say to everyone. They're testing missiles again. China is trying to handle their own economy. And now they're talking about lockdowns in certain places again. We've got monkeypox. What the hell? I've never heard of monkeypox. That's now a new thing.
Neither have the monkeys, apparently.
Yeah, no, well, that's for sure. And then all this being said, we're about to enter negativity season, which is the midterms in the U.S. So you have both sides absolutely pounding negative news every single day on every single channel, right? No matter what. And what we're seeing is it used to just be like, maybe a Republican, hey Drew, a Republican might attack a Democrat attacks a Republican. The commercials are terrible and they're super negative. What's been really interesting now is you're going to see the commercials that are going to be attacking Bezos and Elon and name your billionaire, right?
Yeah.
And how like they're now the face of capitalism and how that's so evil. And you're starting to see these guys get more out there on Twitter, etc., going back at the politicians. And I'm just sitting here as like a 39-year-old guy who's trying to retire and take care of his family. And I'm like,
this too much.
Oh my gosh. You can't escape this conversation about money or capitalism or stocks or anything.
You know what? Hold on. The thing is, I actually don't mind that shit. I know that this bugs some people, right? And I'm not saying it bugs you, but I'm saying like it can be very overwhelming for some people. But I actually don't mind that shit because, to be honest with you, for a long time, this whole entry point into the stock market and all this stuff was largely hidden from people like regular people. It was really only reserved, and it's not really for the fault of anybody. It's just that they didn't look or something. So I feel like, what, if we're at a point where we're talking about all this stuff now, why the hell not? You know what? Let's bring it out. The problem, I think, and I think you're probably alluding to the same thing, but the problem is that some people they want it fast. They want like a quick, fast, easy, little. They think, oh, stock market, yeah, I'm gonna be a billion, like you're saying, Lambo, right? Lambo in your 20s. That stuff doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. Like, just because something is more in the open or whatever, or just because something happened once, where whatever, the rise of Bitcoin or whatever you want to call it, right? It doesn't mean it's going to happen in every single thing. Like, or you're going to end up getting like squid coins and all this other stupid shit. But no, to touch on that point, it's like the geopolitical tension, it might be gone from some of our news channels that we don't see it, but the reality of it is still there. It affects, like, there's this ripple effect of, like, I think we talked about this in previous podcasts where, the futures market takes a hit. So many different things happen from it. Just because you don't see it on the news doesn't mean it doesn't happen. And really, that's I mean, talking about Elon here, I mean, he's facing like this new sexual harassment stuff, and people, I mean, honestly though, whether he's the face of capitalism or not, whether he wants to be or not, he's there, man. That's the problem with this kind of fame, right? He becomes infamous and famous at the same time.
Yep, I agree. And, we talked about this before. I think the celebrity CEO, and when you become a celebrity CEO, now you are scrutinized on everything. So just to talk about that news for a second, because it's sort of like, I don't think it's funny. I'm just laughing at like how it's unbelievable how every time, I'm not saying things did or didn't happen, and it sounds like something might have happened because there was a payout, but I don't know. So I don't want, I'm not speculating at all. All I'm saying is
he denied the claim, right? He denied, so far he's denied the claim.
No, he didn't. He didn't.
He didn't?
At least about 50 minutes ago.
Oh.
He was getting a massage from her.
Okay.
So what's weird about this is I don't know the details, so I don't want to get held against me later. But I'm going to go on a limb and say he's claiming there's more to the story than what you're hearing. Not necessarily a denial, by the way. That's what I'm saying. I don't know if it's a denial or more like it's not as simple. So he's saying there's more to the story than there is. That's probably never going to make its way out publicly. I'm sure it will to some people, but won't be as popular. But what I heard, and this is what's so confusing, is like the first tweet was SpaceX. What's the word I'm looking for? Flight attendant gets $50K because he exposed himself to her. Now the story is he was getting a massage from her and was exposed. And now I'm in no way insinuating that she wasn't done wrong or anything like that. In fact, it sounds like maybe she was. But it is just so interesting how like these things break right as he's fighting back against something he doesn't like, and it's going to go against the other way too. And this is what's so sad about the whole situation for normal retail investors is like if you're in Tesla because you think it's a great company, it's going places, and that's you just lost a ton of money today over news that we don't actually have details on just yet. Yeah. And it does speak to a broader concern, by the way, about like how much does Elon affect the company? Because a lot of people will say like, no,
man, it's key man clause 100%. People, like, what does he actually? Yes, I don't know. Like, so if you ask somebody, they'll tell you it's like he affects it 90%, right? In reality, he probably only affects it maybe 30-40%. But the perception, the stock market is, man, the stock market is very emotional, but like you know that too, right? So it's like, even if something small happens, it dips like crazy. Dude, that's how I made most of my money off of Tesla. I bought the whole Model 3 hype and I don't know, Model 3 like issues, and I bought the whole Tesla's Q2 is not going to be profitable, all that stuff. I bought that and I made tons of money. But if you're, again, this comes back to people though. If you're not steady in terms of thinking, then you're gonna lose money, right? Because you're gonna sell at these times. And I'll give you an example. Like a very good example is my mom, right? So I help give her some advice and stuff here and there, whatever the case is. But she calls me and says, "Hey, I heard about this new thing. Are you sure we should stay in this? I think we should sell or whatever." And it's like, dude, just relax. Like, just read into it a little more. Depending on what the situation is, even if the decision you're gonna make is whatever you're gonna make, be a little more stoic before you make it. Don't jump into it because of something you read or emotion or whatever the case is, right? But yeah, I think that he's definitely a key man clause man.
You know what? I think it boils down to a real simple thing. You cannot be married to your ideas when it comes to a stock. Yeah. And like you can love Tesla, like you can own 12 Teslas and talk about Tesla all day. Yeah. But you also have to be reasonable enough to say to yourself that if the thesis changes and there's something significant that's new, you have to change your viewpoint and look at it from based on new information. This is why you and I both live in this world. Like the reason why AI is so confusing to people is because AI doesn't care about emotions.
Does not give a shit.
We are emotional people, so it's very hard to separate those things. Like, okay, I'm gonna nerd out for just a second. I promise before we run out of time. But like, I love Westworld because I love the idea of the neural networks that are running strategies.
Oh my God, the Rehoboam or whatever.
Yes, thank God you just said that. I'm like, please God, let them know what I'm talking about. Yeah. A lot of people hated season 3, and I get why. It had nothing to do with the first 2. I totally get that. But season 3, really the introduction of like a future-based, super strategic AI, like just the thing that makes it so cool is like this is why AI in business and in commerce is so important because it takes out feelings, right? Like it can also recognize patterns that are wrong. Like I think about this all the time in terms of like the bots on Twitter and the fake news and all this other stuff. And it's like, look, the reality is we can, in fact, find them. It's just expensive. So it becomes a question of like, what is the value of finding bots and fake users
right.
in fake news for that matter?
Well, apparently it's tens of billions of dollars to Elon. So, it could be worth something. Who knows?
What do you think about that? Is he trying to get out of this thing?
I think he's trying to negotiate, man. I know a lot of the Tesla bulls are like, oh, he's just doing his due diligence, and he probably is. That's fine. I don't care, but it's not really a big news thing for me. It makes sense in a way because like it's multifaceted. The one side of it is yes, he offered too much for it, so now he's like, why the hell wouldn't I renegotiate when everything else is tanking? I'm not going to give. It's like, why would I lose money for that? And the second thing is, I do actually think there's tons of bots on Twitter. I actually built a bot on Twitter, I think 5-6 years ago, to do some scraping and stuff. So I know for a fact, there's a lot more than 5%. That seems really stupid. That's stupid, little man.
Just looking at my own portfolio, the amount of um, uh, uh, beautiful women with no profiles and one day on Twitter that somehow have found me.
Yes. Oh man, they have one post.
Yeah, one post, and then it's pretty hilarious. I mean, again though, the only question is why wasn't this done ahead of time? I suppose is the better question. But
I don't know,
let, let,
whatever.
let, let's pivot to like some real hard breaking news. Very uncomfortable to talk about.
Yeah.
You're going to want to turn your speakers down, and like you're going to be very mad if you're a fan of the stock market. You're going to be upset with me, but I'm going to say it anyways. Why is Amber Heard shitting on people's beds? Okay, that's what I want to know. I just need to know like what is going on here. Hey Drew, no worries, we'll get it fixed up for you next week. No problem at all. I think that's what's blowing me away. Is
Dude, I think she's maybe she likes that kinky shit, that German pancake or whatever the hell they call it.
I mean, dude, like
They like that weird stuff, man. Hey, you know what? These are celebrities. You never know. Like Johnny Depp literally testified that he does cocaine. Not that that's an indicator. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm saying like these guys might be into some interesting stuff. You never know. But yeah, it's true though. Like who shits on a bed outside of that context?
Do you know what the worst part about this is? Is like we weren't there. We don't know the deal. It could have been in some weird, crazy celebrity way, like a funny joke at the time. But it's one of those moments when you know she's like, of course I did this, and now I have to keep doing that. It's like, I'll be honest with you, to not have to go on national TV and have a billion memes made about you to just to have to go and say like, yeah, I pooped on the bed. Like, listen,
dude, what if it was like, what if it was like, when you like go to a club or something from back in the day, because there's no clubs anymore, and you're like really holding that shit in. You're like, I can take a few more shots until I really got to go home and take a shit, but a few more shots, and you're holding it in. What if she was holding that in, and then when she got home, she was like, you know what? I don't know, Johnny. I don't know. I don't think I want to have sex with you, but I definitely need to take a shit.
Yeah, she's on like her 14th like vodka Red Bull, and it's time to rock and roll. And I think what's so funny too is like, there was this great breakdown years ago. I can't think of who did it, but they were saying how like social media has destroyed the Hollywood superstar, because now we get to see how completely screwed up they are. They're not that smart. They act crazy and below their money and get to live better lives for doing nothing. Like the whole thing of like they're in one penthouse that's across the street.
Oh man,
I'm like, oh my god,
glass houses, man, glass houses.
Yep.
I think your point is so on cue here, because before I remember this too, because like coming in here as an immigrant and stuff, like you only see America's number one export is culture, right? Number one. So when we in different countries, that's all you see. You see like, oh, look at the Hollywood celebrities. I want to live like that, American dream, all this kind of stuff, right? So when you come here, like for a while, I remember my parents are still like this, but I remember like the celebrities were held up here, and they were like, oh, they're so knowledgeable in some of the stuff they talk about. Now you realize that they actually are dumb as hell. Right? They basically have the combined, like, some of them are pretty smart, I'm sure, but like, they have a combined brain cells of like a lemming. So you realize that it sucks.
Like that's even like my wife has this really funny thing. I can't think of where it is. It's someone's doing videos on it, but what they're doing is like they're just doing like the best parts and they're putting like commentary with it, so it's actually really funny. Like I have no time to watch this thing, but in 30-second bites, it's enough to have a good laugh on it. And we were watching it the other night, and just like, not only is she worth like, I don't know what she's worth, but tens of millions of dollars at least. Her attorney is terrible. Her story is terrible. The fake acting is terrible. The pooping on the beds, maybe not that terrible.
To be fair, she wasn't a great actress anyway. So
no, but like still getting the role though. Still getting the role. But I just, it's so funny because you think like, you're like, look, Shabari, if you pooped on your bed and your wife was like, look, this is bull, you're not a good guy, you better start cleaning up your act, you're gonna be like, I did poop on that bed that one time, I should probably like you're like, you want to be like, Amber, my god, like you're counter suing. Like, did your attorney tell you you're gonna have to go on the stand and get absolutely eviscerated by these things?
I'm sure she knew, man, but you know what, like, just to be objective, let's take the other side a little bit. Like, I know that, so there's been a few people that have been called on trial, right? And I think Johnny Depp's one ex-girlfriend from like from the 90s or something got pulled up. And I hate pulling stuff out of context, or I hate like when people talk about stuff that's old or whatever, right? But we can't always see it. Like, I think Amber Heard's a psycho, just to be fair, right? But just to be objective, I really think that, Johnny Depp's not that kind of like, not that he seems like a puppy dog on the stands right now, right? The guy knows what he's doing, man.
So listen, here's the difference. He knows how to tell a story in a way that gets people to want to go. Like, he is an actor. That he is acting. I mean, he's doing a great job of it, by the way. But like, even the way he mocks the other attorney and makes the whole courtroom laugh, he becomes like me. I could never have done that. Look at me, you're a nice guy. I made you laugh. It could never happen.
You know what he's doing? I think he's doing Edward Scissorhands. That's what he's doing in the court right now. He's just sitting there like, oh, I'm just a barber. I'm just trying to cut hair. I'm so innocent. Look at this shit bed shit.
You ever watch Breaking Bad?
Yeah, of course.
Do you remember the scene when the IRS comes in because they were cooking the books, and she comes in dressed like, totally different, not professional.
Right.
Like, oh, I used the QuickBooks. And they're like, what, you use QuickBooks? She's like, yeah, I don't know. It's 1999 or something. It's really nice. You can enter things in a computer. And the guy's like, oh my God, so you didn't do it on purpose? And she's like, yeah, I did it on purpose in the QuickBooks. And that's what it feels like, is like, yeah, I was trying to go to bed, and I don't know what happened. And like, again, I think there is also, as like the father of a daughter, I will tell you, for all the dads who have daughters, or even if you don't, you have a wife or sister or whatever, like the worst part of this whole thing is that you hope it doesn't make other real situations not going to light. That's the part that scares me the most, is like, look how she's getting embarrassed. And I don't know if it's true or not. So just to be fair, I'm not speculating at all here. I'm just saying, like, you do hope it doesn't create a situation where women in bad situations aren't stepping forward and doing the right things. So I guess you and I are the first to say, like, we got your back if you're in trouble. So, make sure you're reaching out to help where you can get it. But at the end of the day, like, I think there's a lesson to be learned here. Don't poop on the bed, and
don't do it.
Have to talk about it in a courtroom. That's probably where I would.
Don't do it. I mean, most bedrooms have bathrooms right beside them, so please just
throw that
5 feet to the right or wherever, and take a shit in the hole. Okay. But yeah, I think we'll close that off. But you know what, Sean? I think that's another topic we should talk about in terms of like the whole like culture right now and raising kids and stuff. Because I know I have two girls, so it's definitely something that we need to discuss and stuff like that, especially since we're dads. But I think we'll hold it off there, guys. We did talk about some like really broad stuff. Sean dropped a lot of good points in terms of this whole downturn and the real estate stuff. So please, guys, if you guys are just joining now, as some of you are, please look at the the beginning of this video. Really, the point of us talking about the market stuff is because some of us know a little bit better, and more research and stuff like that. And we really want to help because we just don't want people to lose their jobs and homes and stuff, man. This kind of stuff, like, we've seen it happen in 2008. I've actually lived through it.
Yep.
So it's really tough. So please look at like what Sean was talking about at the beginning of the video if you're interested in that kind of stuff. But I'm going to sign off. Sean, I think we got to go do some stuff. So until next time, we'll catch y'all later. Peace.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.